So, Amazon held its annual devices event this week where the company announced several new devices, ranging from a brand new look for the Echo line to a security camera drone that patrols your house on its own. Instead of breaking down every announcement today on Jason Squared, we're going to take a look at what impressed, what didn't, and what's downright confusing. I'm Jason Cipriani with Jason Perlow, and this is Jason Squared. So, Perlow, let's start with the bad. Which new Amazon product were you not impressed with?
Alexa, what kind of Amazon products did you come out with this week?
That list is going to be so long, I don't think you have time to listen to
Oh
it.
man. Okay. All right. Well, um, look, there was a lot of stuff they released in the course of an hour. I can't imagine. I can't believe just how much crap we had to watch being rolled out in such a short time period. For a press only event, by the way, it wasn't a publicly disclosed event.
Right.
Um, a lot of the innovations, that Amazon showed us were really not product enhancements in terms of things you need to buy the updated versions of these devices in order to get. Um, in terms of Alexa, a lot of what is being rolled out to the cloud service, right? So presumably, a lot of the old devices should be getting a more natural voice,
Yeah.
the monitoring service, the conversation mode. That's assuming that you don't need that new chip, right, in order to take advantage of these things. There's a new machine learning chip that they introduced with the new version of the Echo, which is a spheroid looking, evil supercomputer looking
It,
thing, right?
it looks exactly like the Nexus Q, which Google announced and never fully launched. They gave it to developers at a developer conference. It was their streaming set top box.
Yeah, and
That's
this is
that's what the new Echo looks like.
I think it looks like Rehoboam from Westworld, the evil supercomputer, right?
Okay. I'm not
Have you
familiar with
haven't
that, but okay.
you haven't seen the new season of Westworld?
No.
Okay, well they had this giant sphere with lights on it, which is the evil supercomputer that talks.
Okay.
So I'm thinking they're going for evil supercomputer.
Yeah.
Um, so this is not unlike when Apple rolls out an improved iOS or Watch OS, and the older products get a lot of these innovations as well. So none of these things, actually popped out and said to me, buy me,
Sure.
right? Right. So I can see how, I might benefit from a dedicated machine learning chip. It's not a must-have kind of a thing. I've definitely experienced enough times with that thing that it seems laggy, and it needs to always communicate with Amazon Web Services. Because it has, every time you speak to it, it's got to send that query over across the cloud, and then what you're retrieving is the result,
Yeah.
from right that it's so. Um, and I don't need a Zigbee bridge for the home automation stuff I currently have. That's another one of the new things the new Echo has is for communicating with home automation devices, like light switches and controllers and things like that. Um, I use a Lutron set up across the entire house, and I run and that's a completely different standard, by the way, for their bridging system. Um, Zigbee is really again for lighting and control devices that Amazon's going to use to expand its ecosystem with its partners. The other thing that is being introduced with the Echo Series 4 is this Sidewalk, which is a Bluetooth low energy mesh network that Amazon is going to be forming um, for all its devices. So the objective is that if you have an Echo, if your next door neighbor has an Echo, if your next door neighbor or you have Amazon devices which have this Bluetooth low energy chip built into it, they can network to each other transparently and pass things like security updates,
Right.
software updates, and things like that without you even knowing about it, right? It's just that this is a network that is overlaid above Wi-Fi, and it'll do stuff, and it'll do things like apparently location aware type of things, and it will be used for Amazon to build out its service. Um, but I don't see why I kind of need one of these other than to help Amazon build out its network. Right? I mean, the fact that it's part of its junk is great, but I don't need to replace all three of those things, right? And that's a generation one, and it works perfectly well, and it's going to get most of these services that they've presumably announced this week, and it's working perfectly well. Do I need to? Do I need to replace it? I
Right.
don't know. Not for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
things
yeah.
what I use it for.
So Echo announcements fell flat for you. What fell
Yeah.
flat for me was Amazon announced a new service, a gaming streaming service called Luna. Basically, it allows you to play video games without having a dedicated gaming console. You can play games on, of course, your Fire TV, Mac, iPad, iOS, which the iOS iPad thing is really interesting to me because it allows you to stream a video game in mobile Safari. So whereas
Yeah.
Microsoft streaming service, gaming streaming service, xCloud or Google Stadia, if they want to release a native iPhone or iPad app, it's not allowed right now in the App Store. Apple's policies prohibit it unless each game is vetted and goes through Apple's review process. It's just unfeasible to do. But Amazon's getting around it by streaming games directly in mobile Safari, which is pretty cool. So you don't need a dedicated gaming console like an Xbox or a PlayStation. But for me, none of these streaming services, gaming streaming services, have really taken off. Microsoft's xCloud, Google Stadia,
No.
there's too many requirements and too many unknowns about the overall experience, right? And the gaming catalog doesn't truly exist on either platform. I mean, there's games there, yes. They have studios who've signed on and whatnot. And maybe xCloud's going to be a little bit better, especially with Microsoft buying up gaming studios. But it doesn't lend itself to games like first-person shooters, Call of Duty, stuff like that. The games I play. Now, if it's a free world, roam around, do whatever you want kind of game,
You
maybe
need
like,
very low. You need very low ping response times in order to play those first-person
right,
shooters.
right. And
Latency yeah.
relying on an internet connection to have a good gaming experience is already frustrating enough when the game is local and running on an Xbox or a PC. I can't imagine the frustration that would be playing on a dedicated internet connection where everything you see is being streamed and downloaded in real time. And I'm sure that's not 100% real time, but there's some caching and whatnot going on. I get why companies are experimenting with streaming gaming platforms, and it's sort of appealing that Amazon is doing this, especially with the fact that they own Twitch, the streaming platform for all streamers, the biggest platform. But I don't know. It's $6 a month for access to their gaming catalog. You have to have a dedicated controller that is tied to your account, and you could switch around and play on any of those devices. But to me, it was one of those things. Was like, really, why do you have to do this? I just don't want any part of it, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, I understand why Amazon wants to build out its services portfolio, especially if they at some point attend to attach this to some respect to Prime, right? They might do like
Yeah.
a Prime arcade where they'll select a certain number of these to give out the free. That's really the next thing. But look, I am now on subscription and streaming service overload.
I think
Okay,
we all are. Yeah.
and especially when I buy Apple One Premiere in another month or two, right, which is going to be another, what is that, 20, $30 a month?
$30.
I
Yeah.
will be in extreme service overload, and with that, they're going to give me Apple Arcade, right? Now,
Yeah.
I don't have Stadia, I don't have Xbox's equivalent. Now they want me to have Luna, right, and pay separate for it. I don't know. Like I said, if I paid with Prime, might play with it a little bit, and it's going to depend on the quality of the games that they offer. To be perfectly frank, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and I haven't tried Stadia because it hasn't appealed to me. So maybe I'm way off. Maybe it's one of those things you have to try it before you actually get it. But looking at the gaming catalog, those aren't the games I want to play. So there's no incentive for me to try it
right,
at all and
right.
pay money each month for that. I'm already paying Microsoft money every month to play online games or to game online through Xbox Live and whatnot. So I just don't see adding another subscription to the mix to download games in real time. It just is not appealing, like I said. So
Right.
that's what didn't impress. But what is one thing that they announced yesterday out of, I think the total count is 16, that you would actually buy or contemplating buying?
Well, one is a would I buy it immediately versus one would I buy it in a later revision, right?
Okay.
So the Car Connect I might get. Okay, this is the Ring Car Connect, right? Which is this car security device, and they didn't really get into super detail what it's capable of doing, but it looks like it's got cameras. If someone approaches your car or something, and it'll record or whatever. I don't even. It would be cool if it had a dash cam built in, because then that would be one less thing I would need to have. I need to have just one device that kind of does everything, which would be kind of cool. That's assuming my vehicles are compatible with them, right? And I would also get one of the always home flying house drones at some point, but maybe
Right.
not the first version. Because really, what I wanted is not for indoor. I would like to have it be an outdoor device that could patrol the house, the perimeter, and if it senses someone's coming, pop up, but it's not with night vision, and record that. That's what I would pay for, is an outdoor one. Not I don't want one indoors, when my dog is running around and crap, or if I'm
Right.
walking around in my underwear. No, I want my external of my house
Yeah,
recorded and
I
protected.
agree with
So,
you, and I'm going to
yeah,
talk more about that always home security camera here in a minute, but because I think it's fascinating
yeah,
and scary and frightening all at the same time. But for me, so to your point, Ring is part of Amazon. Amazon bought Ring Security Company a few years ago, and this yesterday they announced a three or four different car security products. So like you were just talking about, there is a camera. It is a dash cam, and it also records inside the car. From what I understand, there's an ODB2 adapter that only alerts you when a security instance has occurred. So someone breaks your window or whatnot, you get a push alert on your phone. It doesn't have a camera built in, and those are cool, and they make a ton of sense for Ring to get into. I get it. Like their whole ethos is to keep everyone secure. So securing your car is just the next step in that, because they have cameras. They've done everything they can do in the home, or so we thought, right, with the flying drone.
right,
So, from my understanding, Tesla and Ring actually partnered on this, and it's Ring's API that will allow car manufacturers to interact with the device that uses built in cameras in the car to record and then provide access to that video in the Ring app. And right now, this solves a big problem for Tesla users in that they have to plug a storage drive into their car in order to record camera footage from all the cameras that are in Teslas when they're parked, as well as when they're driving. But this device plugs in, has an optional LTE subscription, so you could access the footage from anywhere, as well as access it when you're parked at home if you don't want to pay for the LTE connection. And this, like I said, solves a huge problem for Tesla users, and it's one that honestly should be free and built directly into the Tesla app itself. And hopefully that is something we see in the future. But until then, this is a product that, at $200, it's expensive, but I would buy in a heartbeat to have access to the camera
yeah.
footage from my car.
Absolutely, and I've had ODB connected devices before. Evaluated a bunch of them. Usually they have like some type of a GPS tracker. They usually have some type of, and primarily they're for automotive diagnostics purposes for homeowners. So like if my Camaro is sends out a diagnostic signal from the engine, the ODB connector picks it up and sends it up to an app. Ideally, I would love this Car Connect not only to do just recording of security footage, but also the type of diagnostics you get out of ODB2 as well.
Sure.
Would be ideal. Then so an all-in-one device, for
Yeah.
the car,
Yeah, I
would be
think
would be ideal.
the Connect and the ODB sensor are two different products. There's actually like a Ring security system, and then the camera system, and then Connect is something that is the API that car
Right.
manufacturers can integrate with. But it would be great to see all of that information. Not going to see that on a Tesla because Tesla keeps that pretty private. But as long as I have access to that video footage from anywhere, and I don't have to mess with pulling the USB drive out or hopping in the car, because they do have a built-in viewer now. It just this is exactly, and they're going to sell a ton of them until Tesla adds this to the app, which if they worked with Tesla on this, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
All right, so was there anything that was confusing that Amazon announced yesterday, something
So
that you just don't understand?
yeah, so like I said, I talked about this earlier, right? Because they didn't make it really clear if all the stuff they talked about, all these enhancements for that thing, uh, are that they've demonstrated: the conversation mode, the natural sounding voice, the monitoring system for the elderly, whether it requires a generation for Echo with the new machine learning chip, or if all the old Echoes, right, going back to that first tin can thing, uh, of which I own three of them at this point. Plus, I own a whole bunch of dots, from their probably second generation dots. Whether those will be able to get those enhancements, or you actually have to upgrade, right? And I really
Sure.
want to know what the tangible benefits of this Sidewalk network actually are for the average person, not just like it makes Amazon better. I want to know what it does for me personally. If I'm gonna replace, rip out I mean, probably $400, $500 worth of these things at least. Even if they're on sale, I've got enough of them around the house. If I were to replace them all with these spheroid things, I want to know what the tangible benefits are to me to replace. Because look,
Right.
they're Bluetooth speakers. They're they don't exactly go bad. They're not like Macintoshes or Windows boxes where, like, if you stop upgrading the software on them, they don't become useful anymore. These can live practically forever. They're solid state. They're not going to go bad necessarily.
Yeah,
So it
unless
has
Amazon issues a software update to brick them, I mean, that's really the only way they're going to go
right,
bad.
and that yeah. Well, I mean, Sonos did that, and look what happened. We had an entire show, and we went crazy. But can you imagine them bricking millions and millions and millions of Echoes? I mean, there's so many of these things out in the wild. I
Right.
don't think they could do that and maintain their reputation. So they need to be more open as to what it's going to get me as a customer if I upgrade all my devices, right? Um, that's really the thing for me.
So ZDNet's sister site CNET did a story, and I don't have it up in front of me, about Sidewalk prior to the event, and as well as which devices currently
Yeah.
exist that support Sidewalk. And the list was very, very long. So go read that after we're done filming, because I think it'll help you out quite a bit, and listeners and viewers can go read that as well. So Sidewalk, I believe, started as Ring's technology for their smart lighting.
Yeah.
It was a way of extending the range of being able to connect to lights that are 100 yards, 200 yards away from the main hub. And when Amazon bought Ring, they integrated that and renamed it, and they call it Sidewalk. There was even a pet collar, a dog collar at one point that was announced. I don't think it ever launched, that was going to use that technology as well. So the thinking was, if your dog ran away and it's 2 blocks away and your neighbor has an Amazon Echo that has Sidewalk integrated into it, you would get an alert saying, hey, your dog's
Yeah.
right here, because we connected to its collar anonymously. So I think there's benefits there, but until this is fully rolled out and we see the bigger picture instead of these one-off ideas like the dog collar, I agree with you. It's that there's a lot more explaining and education that needs to happen on Amazon's part, and hopefully that happens. Now,
Yeah.
pretty much every product they announced, including the Ring car stuff, has Sidewalk built in.
The Eros, they all do. And Sidewalk is built on industry standard technology. It is built on Bluetooth
Right.
Low Energy, which it has been in use by other companies, primarily for things like smart lighting, type of smart bulbs and things like that. So essentially, it is like Bluetooth, but it doesn't carry a ton of data. It's designed not for data speed transmission. It's designed for data distance
Yeah.
transmission, right? Because it works on a different frequency than like something like Wi-Fi works on. Wi-Fi has problems penetrating walls, especially start dealing with the 5 gigahertz band, right? So, something like Bluetooth Low Energy can transmit over hundreds of feet, and it doesn't have the same problem penetrating through walls. It is an ideal standard for device-to-device low-speed communication,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that if Amazon can be a trendsetter by getting them into all of its devices, right, there will be eventually millions and millions of the nodes of this network.
If not already, because that
By
product list was
sheer
really long.
yeah.
Like, there's probably hundreds of millions of devices that support it right now.
Yeah, and it's a question of turning them on and getting them to start
Yeah.
talking to each
Yeah.
other, right? Obviously, my concern would be any potential security, compromise that might exist that someone might discover. To what extent, could a hacker, penetrate this network and traverse it?
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems to be very well encrypted based on their technical subscription. But, like I said, to me, it's always going to be what's in
Right.
it for me, right, as a consumer, right?
Yeah.
So,
So for me,
yeah.
the biggest product announced yesterday that I'm still on the fence about is the Always Home camera. So this is Ring's autonomous drone that is tied to the Ring
Yeah.
security system. So you have to have a Ring alarm system equipped in your house in order to use one of these. And so from my understanding
Okay.
is you go through and you configure predetermined routes. So let's say if your Ring alarm system detects a door is open when your alarm is armed, it will leave its little docking station, fly over on a predetermined route that you have set yourself, check it out, and stream that footage to you in the app, and you can see if something's going on or if you need to do anything else. So it's really limited, really, because if you have to predetermine the route, you can't tell it to go
It's not fully It's not fully autonomous. It's not using like lidar to map your
right.
house and just figuring out where to chase something down. It's running
It
like a
can
pattern,
detect if an
right?
object is in its path. Let's say you have it fly a little too low to the couch and your dog is sitting up and it can't get around your dog.
Like one of those robot vacuums. Essentially, it's got a sensor. Essentially,
Right, but it won't go around it. It'll go back to the dock and send you an alert and say its path is blocked. So
oh,
at $250, that seems a little limited to me. I mean, obviously, if you have it fly high enough, the layout of your house doesn't change all that often at a high level. So
no.
objects in its path are going to be very limited. I get that approach, but also I feel like this should be something that you could set a schedule for it to fly around your house and let you know everything's okay. But also that it should have some autonomy to do what it needs to do. Like if it finds a person in your house, obviously the guy or girl is going to swat it out of the air. There's nothing stopping them from doing that. But it should be able to at least follow someone around your house if it detects someone in your house. But so there's a lot of questions still that need to be answered by Ring and Amazon on how exactly this works. Does the software allow it to be approved to the point where it can fly around on its own? To your point earlier, can you put it outside? Can I attach a
Yeah.
pellet gun to it to shoot someone who's breaking into my home? Like, what can I do beyond
Jason,
having?
Jason, where's this aggression coming from, man? I'm very
I mean, you got to have something there, right? Like they're gonna swat it out of the air. Like someone breaks into your house and sees this tiny little drone that's
Yeah.
noisy that has a camera built into
Bam.
it. They're gonna hit it. It's gonna hit the ground, and it's gonna be no better. Actually, at that point, it's worse than a camera sitting on your bookshelf recording the entire encounter. So, like, maybe a pellet gun is
Yeah.
overkill, but you get what I'm saying. There's not a lot of deterrence here with something that can very easily be put on the ground. So there's a lot of questions there, like I said, that I think we need some answers to. But hopefully it doesn't launch till next year. Hopefully there'll be another, not event, but just some more videos explaining exactly what's going on with it and the true benefits of it, other than this sci-fi scary movie looking thing that comes out of a
Well,
dog.
Jason, in 20 years, when the killer robots are patrolling our destroyed landscape and we're all struggling to survive, our magnanimous leader is going to tell us that it all started with, ring drones, and
Right.
before Amazon Web Services completely conquered the earth, and
Right.
subjugated us, and made
Yeah,
us,
and
and
there's that whole aspect of it too. Do you want Amazon having a map inside your house with every single product that is sitting on your counters? Like
yeah.
that, there's that whole aspect and privacy aspect of it as well. So that it's just a lot more answers need to be given by Ring. So, any closing thoughts, Perlo?
Yeah, one thing I do want to say, it was clearly very, very obvious what the difference was between how Amazon runs a virtual event like this, which was only for selected press. I need to emphasize that you could only get into this event if you were a member of the media, and you had to get a special invite and a login code, and it was not, it was very secret squirrel. Uh, of where how they run this versus Apple, which is completely blow it out to the entire world so
Right.
everyone can see it, right?
Right.
Um, this was also pre-recorded like Apple did its event, but and it was produced, right? It was produced, but it almost felt like a really really long Saturday Night Live skit. You expected something funny or goofy was going to happen while these executives were talking about what they were working on, or that it was like a satire type commercial thing. Um, like I said, so it was produced, but not an ultra produced, super slick thing like Apple produced. Like with Apple zooming in and out of the buildings and all kinds of crazy stuff they were doing. And Apple's felt entertaining while you were watching it. Which I think
Sure.
was a different. Um, they also trolled out a tremendous amount of product over the course of an hour. Right? I
Yeah,
mean,
there was a
talking
lot.
about one is One is talking about all the enhancements to the Echo, which, yeah, you're all going to get all these things this fall, but then here's all the stuff you
I
need to buy,
completely lost you guys.
right? And it was a lot. But you figured there was like 4 business segments that were discussing, and at least four products in each segment. So it was a lot, right? It was very difficult for me as a technology journalist to process all this stuff that was being announced. So and you know what? I now appreciate that Apple has decided to split their events up and not utterly bombard us with garbage at each at an event. Because Apple could have easily done that. They could have done Watch, they could have done an iPhone, they could have done iPad all in one event, an Apple one, and we would just been completely overwhelmed,
Yeah, I
right?
agree with you.
I
The
mean,
Apple
right?
events feel crowded themselves anyways because there's a lot, but there's a lot of information in their events. Whereas we're sitting here saying we don't know enough about this with Amazon. Apple
Right.
gives us all that information, so it's overwhelming from that standpoint. But I think there was a total of 16 products announced yesterday by Amazon
Yeah,
within
that's hot.
an hour, which is insane. But it's also less than they announced the year before, so maybe they're listening a little bit. I actually didn't get to watch it. I was driving, so I listened to it, which was even harder to follow what was going on because it just moved so fast. The good news is we have quite a bit of coverage on zdnet.com going over each of the products, rounding up when they'll be available because nothing's launched yet. I think they're waiting till after Amazon Prime Day on October 13th to even
Yeah.
launch the Echoes, as well as
And
their
don't buy anything with the announced price, because when Prime Day comes, these are all going to be discounted, or most of them will be probably.
Yeah, I bet a lot of them are discounted on Prime Day. So pre-order on October 13th, not now. That would be my advice as well. So go to zdnet.com, check out all the coverage we have of Amazon's, was it 2020 fall device event. There's a lot there, like I said. And thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it. I'm Jason Cipriani.
And I'm Jason Perlow.
And this is Jason Squared. Make sure to check out all of our work at zdnet.com as well.